Alright, so for many centuries, people have always been wondering, oh, well, like, I wonder, like, what Buddha's life was like and all that, right? And, like, like, there's, like, a lot of old books, and, not all of them give the best summaries, or, some of them baby, like, the story of Buddha. However, in this video, when you leave, you will know all the 12 acts of Buddha's life, and, like, all of, like, the coolest shit Buddha did. Alright, so starting off, we got like Act 1. Act 1 starts with like Buddha being like awesome, like sitting in his like little chair in like the heavens, I guess like Tushita heavens, with like all the gods. You got like this guy here, the three like head dude. I think this is like Indra, this is like a red dude. There's like all of this stuff right here, right? All right. Now, the gods come to him and they're like, "Oh, like Buddha, like humans suck, bro. You gotta like go down to earth and like teach them how to not suck so they can like be awesome like you." So now we're cutting to like this lady right here. The lady right here, her name is Mahamaya, right? And like, so she's like this queen, right? Married to some king. And all right, now here's like a little inconsistency, or I guess plot hole in this story, right? So allegedly, the king and Mahamaya, right? They've been doing it for years, trying to like get an heir to the throne, right? But like for whatever reason, like they just couldn't. They could not get a kid until one day, like Mahamaya, she has a dream of like a white elephant, like randomly, and then that's when she knew. That's when she knew she was pregnant. Yeah. Alright, now, one thing about Mahamaya apparently, allegedly, like, when she gave birth to Buddha, she was a virgin. So I don't know if, like, that whole story with her and her husband trying to do it was right. Could you not find the whole? I think that's what you need to get started. But, anyways, so, like, she, like, goes out in, like, the middle of the woods or something with, like, all these people, like, right, there's, like, these girls right here that are like, oh my God, look at him, he's like born and shit, right? And then there's like the gods right here. So if you're wondering what happened, right? She gave birth not from here, but she gave birth from like the right side of her body or something, right? Yeah. And then Buddha was born fucking walking, and like the gods were making like lotuses and shit for like him to like just be awesome. And now in some stories he was like fully clothed. This one he's like butt ass naked. Which one's cooler? I don't know. But like if you look over here, he has like the energy radiating from his body or something. This is like how people knew he was like the chosen one. Alright, now we are moving on to the king. Alright, so the king's name is Suddhodana, right? And for whatever reason, he doesn't question the fact that he has like his wife just gave like birth without having sex. I guess he just does not care. He did not care that the gods like impregnated her, right? But anyways, they're Buddha's born, he's like chilling, he's like levitating and shit, having this like massive aura around him. But then this sage comes and he's like, oh, your son is destined for greatness. He's gonna be one of two things, either like a religious leader or like a political ruler, just like his father, right? And like looking at this image here, like it's pretty obvious like which one he's gonna be, right? Like yeah, like oh look, your infant son is fucking levitating and shit, right? Like, but anyways, the king was not happy about this like at all, right? He was like, "Oh, what the fuck? I don't want my kid to be like some religious dork. I want him to be like a ruler like me, be rich and awesome, right?" But like, as we learned throughout the story, being a political ruler is not rich and awesome, or it's rich, but it's not awesome. Alright, so like over here now we have Buddha growing up. He's like meditating and shit, and all the people in the world are like, "Oh my God, look at him! He's like meditating with like his like aura or whatever, right? Like, look at him. He's like sitting here meditating. Yeah, there's not much. He's just meditating here. That's just like it. Oh yeah, by the way, we're like on Act 5, but yeah, so like Buddha over here was like being educated as like a leader, right? His father wanted to like keep him away from like the horrible whatever of humanity, right? And Buddha, because he's awesome, was good at everything he did. Like this dance thing he's doing that I don't even know what he's doing on the screen here. But like look, he's just being awesome and he's really good at it and he's impressing a lot of people. Um yeah, he's just like born awesome. Anyways, because he was like awesome and stuff, right? At the age of 16, he like scored with like a lot of women. Like in the fact that like he was basically married at 16 and he had like a wife or something named Yasodhara, right? And like the gods, oh yeah, by the way, the gods are also like involved in his life, but the gods like gave him a conch as like a gift and shit. And he also got married and he not only to just one woman but many women and it's like awesome, right? Like he basically has like an awesome life, right? No struggles at all, right? Like what could possibly go wrong from here, right? However, at the age of so like oh yeah, he also had a kid by the way. Um but like yeah, with Yatsuhara. But anyways, when he was like 29 years old, right? Like his dad was like, okay, well like this door can't like sit in the house forever, right? Because he has to like rule the kingdom. And how is he gonna know the kingdom if he's never set foot outside the palace? Yeah, he never set out the palace for like 29 years, right? So he's like, oh, dad, like let me like explore the world. His dad's like, yeah, I guess you have to, right? And so him and his like servant, right? They like go out, they're like having fun. I guess he's having fun. I wouldn't really have fun as a servant, but then they discover the four encounters, all right. The first encounter. All right, now this picture is interesting because it shows like about all these people here like just hanging out. I like to interpret it as they were on different days, but like on the first day he like saw an old person, right? And he was like to his servant, dude. He was like, "Oh, dude, what is that?" And the servant's like, "Oh, that's an old person." And then he was like, "Oh, will that happen to me someday?" And he's like, "Yes, Buddha, that will happen to you." He's like, "Holy shit, I know." He discovered what being old was. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, like, aren't his parents all? Well, like, you gotta understand, this was like ancient India, right? They were like having sex at like 15, bro. His parents were probably like 45, like yeah, like he probably never seen an old person, right? Then the next day or like a few days later, whatever the time frame is, he sees a sick person. Same cycle repeats. Like, oh my God, like what's with that guy? And servant's like, oh, he's sick. He's like, will that happen to me? Yes, yes, it will, Buddha. It will happen to you. Or I guess it doesn't. Spoiler alert: the story never gets sick. But and then one day he sees like a dead man, like a guy who's not moving. I guess like the skeleton right here, right? Is this like an old man, sick person? I don't know. He's probably both, right? He sees a dead man. He's like, holy shit! Like, what is that? He's like, that's a guy who's like dead. Like, I don't know what to tell you, Buddha. Like, I'm sorry. That's gonna happen to you. And then Buddha is like, holy shit. And then the fourth thing he sees a guy who's meditating. Now this picture I think is kind of inaccurate a little bit because the person he was like looking at, I'm pretty sure he just had a loincloth like covering his like groin area, right? And like he was just like meditating, and Buddha was like, "Holy shit, who is that?" And then his servant was like, "Oh, that's like a renunciate. He's like renouncing the world and shit, and like meditating." And then this is like where Buddha had like a spark show up in his head. Oh yeah, also like, oh yeah, so like the gods like were like, oh yeah, Buddha, remember what you're here for. Like, you gotta like teach the humans how to not suck at being humans and be enlightened and stuff. And then Buddha found out what he had to do. He found out that he could not just be a political ruler. He had to be a religious leader. So one day he just fucking leaves his kid, leaves his wives, and then leaves his other wives, right? And he just basically decided to like just leave and never come back, right? Then like after he left his house, him and his like mad servant dude ride on like a magical flying horse like all the way out into the woods. Once he lands like over the river, he decides to like cut his hair to symbolize a new life outside of like him and like the palace and shit, right? Then he decides to become a renunciate, and then he's like just like meditating and shit. All right, so like these guys in the background, pay attention to them. They'll come back later. But these monks over here, they think Buddha is fucking awesome because he's like starving himself. So he's like ascetic and shit, right? He's like, oh, like I'm not like I can't, I shouldn't eat. I have to be like meditating and shit, right? But then you notice he's like very bony and very weak, and he's like almost dead, right? And that's like actually insane. And the gods were like pissed, bro. The gods were like, bro, you cannot be fucking dying right now. Why the fuck are you trying to die? You haven't even done what we set you out here to do, right? And so at first they send down like Buddha's mom, right? Yeah, her mom's like in the heavens. Oh yeah, by the way, his mom died like 7 days after his birth. I probably should have stated that. But yeah, she like now if you're wondering how did she die, she didn't die from having him. She died at like the heartbreak of him like leaving her. I don't know, some like random like shit. But basically we just know she's dead, right? Then like they send her like spirit back down to go talk to him. She's like, "Oh my God, Buddha, you gotta fucking eat, bro. Like eat." And then Buddha's like, "Oh no, I don't want to eat because I want to be meditating and shit," right? A 30-year-old man, by the way. And she's like, "Bro, like just fucking eat, bro. You're gonna fucking die and you're gonna like ruin humanity." And I guess he's like, "Nah." But then like his little like this god comes to Earth, right? This is Indra, right? And Indra's like, "Dude, like you see my loot here, you tie the strings too tight, they fucking break, right? You like um have them too loose and they sound like shit, all right? You gotta tie them just right." And then that's when Buddha learned the middle way, in that you can't be devoted to training too much, but you also cannot be like just physically dumb, right? You gotta find like a you gotta be like find a balance somewhere, right? Or like your goals will not be like achieved, right? Um, yeah, and then Buddha realized his ways, and then so basically this like woman just comes out of nowhere, and she's like, "Wow, look at this guy who's like meditating," and then she gives him like milk, rice, and honey and stuff, and like Buddha's like, "Awesome," and I guess like maybe like after one meal he like gains his full strength, right? Because he's like fucking Buddha, right? It's like fucking awesome. But then we come to like the bad guy of the story. We got Mara, right? And Mara is over. Oh shit, I forgot to censor that. Yeah. So like Mara's like, "Oh, I like Buddha. Stop being so cool and awesome. Be lame and a loser like me, bro. Like, stop being awesome." And Buddha just ignored him. Buddha was like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I'm awesome. Like, go away. I don't know you. Like, just leave me alone." And Mara was not having it, bro. Mara was like, "Bro, like, come on, please." And then Buddha was like, "No." So what does Mara do? Well, Mara is like, "Okay, well, let me just spawn a bunch of magical naked girls at you, and they'll like dance." And Buddha was like, "Nah, like nah, like fuck you, like you don't deserve to like, or well, no, he was like, no, I'm like too busy meditating. I don't got time for girls, bro." Like again, this guy like left his wife and kid, his wives and kid to like go out into the woods, bro. You really think these random girls are gonna stop him, bro? Yeah, but like anyways, like Mara just like gives up after this. Like Buddha doesn't kill him. No, Mara just like gives up. Like that's it. He's like, "Okay, well I can't fuck with this guy. I guess I gotta leave." And yeah, like Mara just leaves. Like that's the end of his like whole entire arc. All right. Anyways, like under the Bodhi tree at the age of 35, yes, it took him 6 years. He finally like reached enlightenment, as you can see by like this aura around him, right? He's like over, like he has this aura. He found out what like the meaning of life is, I guess, enlightenment. Oh yeah, this is Act 10, by the way. We're like almost done, right? But like now that he's enlightened, he has to like teach people this because again, that's like his whole goal for coming down to Earth. Alright, so now we're getting into what I think is the boring stuff. Alright, so like right here, you got his first devotees, right? They're like these people that are like, oh my God, Buddha, you're like so awesome. Here's like free barley and shit. And Buddha's like, okay. And then he like teaches them, I guess. Or oh yeah, by the way, so like then he like goes to like teach like people. Oh yeah, by the way, the Hindu deity Brahma, yeah, like Hinduism's like involved in Buddhism for whatever reason. But yeah, like Brahma was like, okay, Buddha, we need you to teach like Dharma to people. And he's like, all right, yeah, I might as well do that, I guess. That makes sense, right? And so like the gods were here, like, yeah, go teach them. All right, so here's his like first sermon here, right? With like the monastic community. These are the same people from like all those like slides I said a while ago, right? But anyways, oh yeah, by the way, so these dorks over here, right? They all like hated Buddha because like he decided to eat food instead of starve to death, right? They were like, "Oh, look at him. He's like weak-minded individual. Like he has to eat food." But like, look at all of them. They're fucking cowards. Look, they're all like not bony, so they fucking ate. So why? Well, anyways, they came back to Buddha because they found out Buddha was more awesome than them, and then so like Buddha's over here teaching like the four truths, right? The four noble truths, right? Suffering, origin of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the path to the cessation of suffering, right? And they're all like amazed, right? Yeah, then like right here is like I guess like this guy named Yasuo, some rich merchant, and he's like, "Wow, like you're so awesome." Now you might be wondering like what makes this significant? He's like the first lay person to like follow Buddhism because before then it was like monks and I guess like those other people, right? That's the significance of this. All right, over here he's like start so like side questing to like people, I guess like teaching them Buddhism. And this guy like I guess he's interested. He's like, "Oh shit, look at this guy." Oh yeah, he's like walking on a lotus too, I guess, like just 'cause he's awesome, right? Anyways, Buddha like he like is so awesome that look, he has basically all of these like fucking like monks and shit. They all look at him and they're like, "Wow, look at this guy. He's so awesome." And like Buddha's teaching like his Buddhism and they're all like, "Wow, like look at like like they're like, "Wow, look at Buddha. He's like so awesome and shit." And like you can tell someone's power level based on like their ears and shit. If they have like giant ass like earlobes and shit, that's how you know they're like the most powerful people. Anyways, oh yeah, I guess okay, I just learned this just now. But like, um, Buddha has a younger brother. Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I just found that out. Well, his name is Nanda, and he's like carrying a bull. And I guess he's the next heir to the throne, right? I had no idea he had a brother. Like the story never made any mention of that until now. But yeah, hey, he has a brother. Now was he born a was he born from a virgin? I don't know. I didn't even know his like father. I guess he just has like a mother that like no one knows. Anyways, speaking of family, guess who decided to show back? His dad, his wife, and his son. And they apologized him for like thinking he's like an abandoned, washed up like loser, right? Cause like they're like, "Oh, like please teach us Buddhism. You're like so awesome, even though you like left us for like so many years. Please, like integrate us into Buddhism." And so he does. He's like, "All right, you guys can join Buddhism." Over here we got like Buddha's cousin, right? Like Devadatta, right? And Devadatta, he like joins the monks to like scheme something to upset like the monks and shit. Okay, so like uh, so Devadatta, right? He's like, oh, like growing up, he was always jealous of Buddha because Buddha was awesome and good at everything, and Devadatta is like fucking sucked at everything, right? He was always jealous of his cousin, right? And like he was like, all right, that's it. I'm gonna destroy Buddhism. And the Earth did not like that because he got swallowed into the Earth. Yeah, he's like the fucking Bandit Keith of like Buddhism, bro. Like that's crazy. Alright, like over here is like a nun. Like Buddha's like, oh yeah, I guess like women can join. Here, you can be a nun, and that's how women came to. Well, I guess not how they came to be, how they came to the Buddhism community. Anyways, like a few years later, his like dad dies, and they have like a ritual for it, and they cremated his dad's ashes, and yeah, that's what happened. His dad's like dead. Anyways, so Buddha goes on like a side quest one day back to the heavens. Yeah, he like walked back to the heavens, right? And he just goes there to like teach Buddhism to the gods and his mom. Actually, I'm pretty sure like his mom. Where is his mom exactly? Maybe it's like I think it's her. I think this is his mom. But yeah, they're like, "Wow, Buddha, you're so awesome, like teaching us Buddhism." Why is he teaching it to the gods? I have no idea. Yeah, like I thought they would know what Buddhism was because they sent him down, but clearly, like I guess I don't know. They're like fucking with it. Okay, so like accidentally went on the wrong slide. But anyways, this like guy like Angulimala, he's like a bandit, right? He tries to like kill Buddha, and Buddha's like, nah, and then he's like, okay, I won't kill you, and then he follows Buddhism. Yeah, Buddha has no fucking weapons, and he was able to just stop this fucking guy with like this fucking sword, bro. Like, that's how strong Buddha was. He could fight without weapons. He didn't even need to land like a single hand on anyone. Anyways, I like lost the slide to where he returns to Earth from the heavens, where like he goes like it's literally like just the clouds and then stairs going down to Earth, and Buddha's like walking down them. But anyways, right here in this slide, this is like oh yeah, this is Act 12 by the way, so like the last act. Like Buddha basically just like dies. Like Buddha decides to die. All right. Like Buddha is like, yeah, I think it's time I die now, and he's like 80 years old, and this is like that's like actually so fucking awesome. He chooses to let himself die, right? This motherfucker could still keep going on if he wanted to. Nah, he's like, nah, guys, I gotta like peace out, like he just dies. All right, and then this is like the last slide of the video, right? Um, Over here, what they did was after Buddha died, they cremated his ashes and they divided it up into 8 parts and distributed it around like 8 regions. Yeah, I know, like that's pretty awesome, right? So like each region of like wherever this is like from, like I guess like northern India, they like have like his ashes there and stuff. What happens if you collect them all? Well, I guess you could like commit a crime because I think those are like very sacred, right? But who knows? Like maybe if you collect all of them, something good might happen. Am I saying you should? No. No, you should respect his ashes being like in all those other places. But like what would happen if like all of the ashes were put back together? I don't know. Well, anyways, that's like the end of like the story of Buddha. I hope a lot of you guys were enlightened by this video and you learned a lot about Buddha's life story. Um, Buddha's like tale is one as old as time itself and is one of like the best examples of a hero's journey you could ever have, right? You got your villain, you got your main character, Buddha had his flaws too because he was also like human and stuff, right? And he had to be reminded by the gods to like do his goal and stuff, right? So in conclusion, like Buddha was fucking awesome.